All right, people, today we're making two of the South's greatest dishes. I'll be showing you how to make perfectly fried catfish and a side of dirty rice. Meet me in the kitchen. Let's make it happen.
I'm curious. You gotta have it straight up first. The rice is crazy. Try that catfish. It's your favorite fish, right? Fried.
All right, guys, first things first, let's talk about the fish. We have catfish here today. Rather large slab, but it's fresh. You can usually find catfish for a reasonable price. What I'm going to do now is cut these into nuggets, or cut the catfish down into nuggets. I like to separate the thinner side of the catfish first, because that's going to be our larger pieces in terms of diameter, because it's going to be thinner. So by weight, it'll be about the same size. Next, we're going to cut it down into fillets, basically. And this is the size we're going for right here. Rather large nuggets I like for my catfish nuggets. That way they can get nice and crispy but still have a little meat on there. I don't want it to be all flour and all breading. That's probably my biggest pet peeve when it comes to catfish nuggets. A lot of times you get it and it's like all cornmeal. So we're gonna go with larger catfish nuggets today because we're also pairing this up with some rice. So I want it to be, plate nicely. So that's kind of what I have in mind. If you look at the fish too, it has some of these natural, lines of fat and whatnot in there that you can kind of use as almost like a guide when you're trying to slice these up. Next up, it's time to get the fish into some buttermilk. We're not really going to marinate it for too long. Fish doesn't really need that, but we do want that buttermilk to help the seasoned flour adhere to the catfish. So we're going to get a little flavor in there as well. We got the catfish nuggets, we got the buttermilk, we're using some Louisiana hot sauce here, and then just a little bit of Cajun seasoning, just to make sure that we cover all of our flavor bases. Cajun seasoning. Let me know in the comments what your favorite hot sauce is. Today we got Crystal, about a tablespoon of that. Just to add a little heat to the party. Totally optional though. If you are adverse to spice, then no big deal. Just get in there with your hand and massage that in. Make sure that the seasoning and the hot sauce is evenly distributed. The buttermilk should turn almost like a orangish color after everything's mixed nicely. And just let that sit for about 30 minutes while your oil comes up to temp and you prep your flour and all that good stuff. Next up, let's talk about the Cajun Trinity. This is kind of the crux of pretty much every Cajun or Creole recipe. Very common in pretty much everything. Similar to like the French's mirepoix, it's a basic combination of onion, celery, and bell pepper. It's gonna give it a nice fine dice. You can throw it in a food processor if you're feeling lazy, but just make sure you get it in there. If you hate one of these ingredients, you can leave it out or tell me about it in the comments. But for anything like a gumbo, a dirty rice, a jambalaya, etouffee, anything like that, all of those recipes tend to start with what they call the Cajun Trinity, which again is onion, bell pepper, and celery. Now when it comes to the bell pepper, this is how I like to prep mine. We're going to chop the top off, put it face down like so, and then cut around the core where all the seeds and whatnot are. Those seeds are sticky, and if you get them all over your cutting board, pain in the ass to clean up. So going to go ahead and dice up the bell pepper. I like to use red and green for the color contrast, but feel free to use whatever's on sale or whatever's already in the fridge. Now you guys see me do this 100 times, but with the onion, I like to leave the root intact. Make yourself a couple slices, slice through the middle, and then rough chop, dice, whatever you want to call it. Just try to make sure the onions and the peppers and the celery are all about the same size. That way they get tender at the same rate. Using one medium to small onion here. This dirty rice recipe is probably enough for 6 to 8 servings, depending on how greedy you are. Now, one thing that I'll go ahead and call out early is the traditional way to make dirty rice is with chicken livers, and I'm not a fan of that. So today we're using pork sausage. I recommend you do the same, but if you're a big fan of chicken livers, then that is the authentic way or the old school way to make dirty rice. Today, we're not doing that. All right, guys, so for foolproof dirty rice, I like to make the rice separately. It's easier, less likely to screw it up. So you can make it, you know, the authentic way and kind of mix everything together and bring it together, but you might end up with risotto. So what I like to do is make it separate, make our meat and veggie mixture, and then combine everything together. So we're gonna cook the rice till about 80% of the way done. Then we're gonna strain it off and then add it to the other skillet. We're gonna cook the rice in chicken broth as well. So 4 cups of chicken broth, 2 cups of clean long grain rice. All right, so the key with the sausage, guys, is you wanna make sure it gets a good crust. That's gonna give you color, texture, and flavor. I like to flatten it out, make sure it's making good surface area contact with the skillet. And then just use your spatula to break everything up. I like to cook the sausage first so the fat can render. That's gonna act as the foundation of flavor for the rest of the dish here. Pork sausage, but for the pork patrol, feel free to use turkey or chicken or beef. So once your 1 pound of pork sausage has a nice head start, we're going in with that Cajun Trinity, which again is onion, bell pepper, and celery. If you don't learn anything else today, you know what the Cajun Trinity is. Give that a mix. Immediately your house will be smelling amazing. Let the veggies get a head start, and then you're going in with the garlic shortly after that. Then begin to season to taste. Bring all this together. Once the rice is almost done, we'll fold that in. And you got yourself some quick and easy, foolproof, dirty rice. Next up, we're going in with the garlic. We need at least 1 tablespoon, maybe even 2. If you're a garlic junkie like myself, we're using garlic paste. You use fresh if you like. But again, we're trying to keep this one super simple today because we want this to be a quick and easy weeknight meal. And that's what we're going for. So next, we're going in with about 2 tablespoons of paprika. I like to do like 1½ of regular paprika and 1/2 of smoked. That's going to give it the color that you're used to seeing. Now, honestly, the good thing about using the chicken livers is it does give it that nice dark color. It just doesn't taste very good in my opinion, or not as good. So again, I like the pork sausage instead. That's what we're going with today, but feel free to do your thing if you think otherwise. Smoked paprika, regular paprika, teaspoon of dried thyme. Then we're gonna add some chili powder, a little bit of my AP seasoning, and some chicken bouillon. Before adding the rice, I like to add about 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of chicken broth, just to help ensure that all of the seasoning is evenly distributed. Basically the same kind of logic behind how you make, ground beef for tacos. We're gonna let this evaporate, but it will allow you to get the fond off the bottom of the skillet to ensure all the flavor is well incorporated here. So scrape the edges, scrape the sides, crank the heat up just a little bit so that all that steam, the liquid begins to evaporate, I should say. And then this is looking just about perfect. Once the rice is ready, we're gonna add that, fold it in, taste and season again as needed, because obviously the rice is gonna be a little bland with that low sodium chicken broth that we use, but it will have a little bit of that flavor from the chicken broth. So make sure you taste as you go, adjust the flavor to your preference as always, and we're almost done. All right, guys, so the rice is about 75–80% of the way cooked. I'm gonna go ahead and fold that in. If there's a little bit of liquid in there, it's no big deal, because that's gonna evaporate during the final bit of cooking. It's also gonna help the rice finish cooking. So fold all of that in together. We're gonna leave the lid off so all the liquid can evaporate. And then we're gonna re-season this. And in about 5 to 7 minutes, you're gonna have yourself some delicious dirty rice. All right, guys, next up, we're gonna make a nice sauce to pair beautifully with the fried catfish and the dirty rice. So we have about 1/2 cup of mayo in here. To that, we're gonna add a heaping tablespoon of Creole mustard, 2 tablespoons of ketchup, about a teaspoon of your favorite hot sauce. Louisiana hot sauce obviously would be preferred for this particular recipe. It's gonna give it a nice little vinegar bite, a little heat, and then whatever your favorite Cajun or Creole seasoning is, we're gonna add that as well. Break out the whisk and mix to combine. We're gonna add that to a squirt bottle for the final presentation. Give a little bit of that to our plate. Now you could also serve it on the side. I'll probably do both today, just to dunk your catfish nuggets in. But that's what you're looking for right there. If you want to add a pinch of sugar to kind of balance the acidity, you can. But that, my friends, is going to be great with the catfish nuggets. So far, we have the dirty rice done, we got the sauce done, and last but not least, it's time to fry some beautiful catfish. So out of the buttermilk bath, into the seasoned flour, goes the catfish nuggets. These are gonna fry up faster than me on Cinco de Mayo. We're gonna go ahead and make sure they're coated up nicely. No bald spots. You can get my seasoned flour right now on sale. Just use the code down below in the description box, or go ahead and season it up yourself. I like to use a combination of things like salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder, little Cajun seasoning, especially if you're pairing it with dirty rice. Can't go wrong with that. But season it up if however you like. If there's a particular seafood breader at the store that you enjoy, then go ahead and use that too. But if you haven't tried mine, I would highly recommend it. Quite delicious, if I do say so myself. Obviously, might be a little biased, but hey. We're gonna get the oil up to 350 degrees. Make sure that these are breaded nicely, not too thick. Want the catfish to kind of shine a little bit. But once the oil hits 350 and these are breaded, we're gonna go ahead and fry them up. Takes about 4, maybe 5 minutes max. Probably not even that long. And then we'll plate this up. Once the oil is up to 350 degrees, we're gonna go ahead and gently place our catfish nuggets on into the oil. You can use whatever oil you like, guys. Peanut oil, vegetable oil, whatever you like. You can use a deep fryer. Today we're gonna kind of shallow fry these so we don't use up too much oil and waste it. But they'll get nice and crispy, golden brown and beautiful. And again, the beauty of this is all of this comes together pretty quick. So a couple of things you can look for when you're frying anything, especially fish. When you hear the loud noise, it's usually in the early stages of the frying process. As the oil starts to get a little bit more quiet, you'll notice that it's just about done. It'll also start to float. You know, your uncle wasn't wrong or drunk at the cookout when he told you when the chicken floats, it's done. There's actually some real science behind that. So as the protein begins to float a little bit and it starts to get more quiet, that's good indications that it's done. The best way to know for sure, though, is with a digital food thermometer. You want your fish to be about 140 to 145 degrees internal temperature. You know, chicken, you want it to be about 165. But as you can see, we're looking good. Great color on the fish. And we're just about done. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and plate this up with a mound of that dirty rice. 3 or 4 pieces of our catfish nuggets, a little bit of that sauce. This is the part where I say brace yourself for a trademark money shot. Say it with me, guys. Looking good. The only thing left to do is dig in for the taste test. But before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. All right, people, we got a little charred lemon action. Because why the hell not? A little fresh lemon juice. I'm going to get us a piece of that. You can hear how crispy it is. Get us a good piece of that catfish with a nice big bite of dirty rice. Looks a little too hot, but hey, that's what I do for you people.